Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. And if you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another podcast episode. Today, we're going to talk about how to get better every single day. And I'm not going to talk about how to become exponentially better or how to wake up tomorrow and be 10 times richer than you are, or wake up tomorrow and you're having the perfect body or the perfect relationship or any of that stuff. I'm going to talk about how to simply just focus on being 1% better every single day. That's it. And we're going to talk about the journey of life that you're on and what you're focusing on and what you're doing. And we're going to talk about the journey of self-improvement, because I don't see self-improvement as something that you just do, like a diet where there's an end point to it. I see it as a lifestyle. You know, if you want to completely change your body, you don't just go on a diet. You change it and be the new, healthier version of you is your new healthy lifestyle. I see the journey of self-improvement the exact same way. I've lived my life since my very first mentor in 2006 under the impression of something called Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese phrase for constant, never-ending improvement. In every single aspect of what I do, I'm constantly trying to grow and improve. So it's a constant, never-ending improvement. It's a journey of life. It's a lifestyle. It's not something that you just decide that you want to do. And the whole idea is I don't expect to wake up tomorrow and be like this super ripped, 10 times richer version of Rob. I know that for me, it's just about how did I show up for myself every single day? How did I show up today? Do I feel like before my head hits the pillow that I'm 1% better than I was when I woke up today? And I'm curious with you. What do you think? When you went to bed last night, do you feel like you were 1% better? Or do you feel like you were the exact same person that woke up? Because if you're the exact same person when you woke up, nothing's going to change in your life. But if you're 1% better and you do that every single day for the next year, that's 365% better. That's 3.6 times better than you are right now, simply by focusing on little, teeny, tiny things to get better every single day. And the reason why this is important is because your current circumstance in life, the way that you look, the way that you feel, the relationships that you're in, the amount of money in your bank account, the success or lack of success in your business, all of those are just lagging results of past habits, traits, behaviors, and actions. That's it. Results don't come right away. That's the interesting thing about them. So where you are right now is based off of decisions that you made in your past, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. You don't get results right away most of the time. It usually takes time. They lag. So if you look at your life right now, if you don't like where you are, I'm going to give you a harsh reality. You chose to be there. If you don't like where you are right now in your life, you chose to be there, whether you realize it or not. There was a bunch of decisions that you made to allow yourself to be in the position that you're in. That's the beautiful thing about life, is that no matter where your life is, you can always blame yourself for it. If you look at your life, and this is one of the very first things my mentor, actually in my very first mentor, I don't remember anything else he told me in 2 years. I remember it was all really good, but I remember one conversation where he literally said that you have to become the CEO of your life. If you wake up one day and you're 85 years old and you don't like where your life is at, it's your fault. But if you wake up at 85 years old and you love where your life is at, it's also your fault. Wherever you are in life, you chose to be there. And that can be something that's very empowering, but for some people, it can also be a really big smack in the face because your past decisions got you to where you currently are. Can't blame anybody else. You got to stop blaming other people. Don't take any blame and put it on anything external. Oh, well, my mom was this way. My dad was this way. My dad was an alcoholic. I was raised in this part of town. My sister always used to tell me I was ugly. You know, I was raised with a bunch of poor people, so I never knew what it looked like to be rich. And it's all of their fault. It's the government's fault. It's the president's fault. It's the president before him's fault. It's the president before the president's fault. You can blame everybody if you want to, but it's not going to change your circumstances. You've got to learn to take all of your blame and put it on yourself, which for some people can feel stressful, but it can also be extremely empowering because you realize that you're the only one that's going to change your life. That's empowering. So if you don't like where you are, you chose to be there based off the decisions that you've made in the past. And your habits come from a story that you are telling yourself about yourself. This is where it gets interesting. We're going to start talking about your identity, okay? Your habits and actions that you take come from the story that you're telling yourself about yourself. So if you say stuff like, I'm lazy, I procrastinate, being overweight runs in my family, that's why I'm overweight. I love to sleep in, I'm always late. I love food too much to lose weight. If you tell yourself any of that shit, that's the identity that you have created for yourself. And you are going to take the actions that align with that identity. So if you say, oh, my family's all overweight, so that's, I'm going to be overweight as well. If you say that, you have now placed an identity on top of yourself. My family's overweight, I'm going to be overweight as well. If I take the identity of I'm going to be overweight because my family's overweight, then I'm going to take actions that line up with that identity. Why the hell would I ever work out if I think to myself, I'm going to be overweight no matter what I do? Because if I'm going to be overweight no matter what I do, why the hell would I go to the gym? That doesn't sound fun. I'm still going to be overweight. So I'm going to take actions, not going to the gym, that line up with my identity, being overweight, which is going to then make my identity, being overweight, a reality. I will be overweight. If I say to myself, oh yeah, I love food too much. It's just a part of the way I was raised. It's my culture, for us to eat big meals together and all of that. If that's your identity, then you're going to eat more than you probably should. And you're going to have a hard time breaking the habit of eating something that's bad for you or too much for you into something that's healthy. If you have the identity of that's just the way I am, I'm always going to be overweight, why would you ever eat a salad? Like if I had the choice, if someone came to me and said, hey, Rob, I've got a salad right here and I've got a pepperoni pizza right here. Which one do you want? Pepperoni pizza is going to win every damn day. Why? Because it's so much freaking better than salad. We can all agree on that, can't we? So if I know that I'm going to be overweight no matter what I do, why would I ever eat healthy? Why would I eat a salad when I can eat pizza? I'm going to be fat anyways, right? I'm going to be overweight because that's just my reality. That's the results that I'm going to have. So why don't I just do what I need to do? I have created an identity in my head. I'm taking actions that line up with that identity, and my results from that identity will create the identity that I have, which is still overweight. And this goes with lazy, this goes with broke, this goes with I procrastinate too much. This goes with I'm late all the time. Your actions and habits will stem from what you believe about yourself. So if you want to become 1% better every single day, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to work on your mindset every single day. Your mindset's going to have to get 1% better every single day because your identity needs to shift. You're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. That's what Alan Watts always says. Right? If you want to be a different person tomorrow, you've got to shift your belief in who you are today. If you think you're overweight, you're not going to work out. If you think you're going to be overweight no matter what, you're not going to eat healthy. You're going to be overweight anyways. Why would you put your body through stress and eat something that doesn't taste as good? You have to change your internal story in order to change your external results. So you got to change your behaviors, but true behavior change is actually a change in identity. That's what people don't realize. I heard a crazy statistic the other day. For people who lose weight, at least 20 pounds, do you know what percentage of them keep the weight off? Let me ask it another way. Out of people 100% of people that go and they lose 20 pounds, what percent of them do you think actually go back to that weight? Say it out loud to yourself. What do you think it is? I asked my videographer right before she started. She said 50%. The number is 97%. 97% of people 97% of people that lose at least 20 pounds gain it back in the next couple of years. 3% of people keep it off. There's a lot of reasons why. One of them has to do with their identity. Another really big reason why is who they surround themselves with. If you lose weight and then you hang out with a lot of other people who are overweight, you're more likely to be overweight. If you have one friend that's obese, you have 57% higher chance of being obese if you have one friend that's obese. So if you lose weight, but all your friends are still overweight, you're probably going to gain all the weight back. If you lose weight and you start hanging out with people who are extremely fit, you're probably going to be in that 3% that continue to keep the weight off. It has to do with your community that you surround yourself with. It has to do with the identity of the way you actually see yourself. Same thing works if you think of someone who grows a successful business and they keep it and they continue to grow it and grow it and grow it versus running into the ground. The person who grows it and grows it and grows it usually is somebody who is surrounding themselves with other people who are growing their business as well. That's keeping them motivated to go in that direction. And a lot of it has to do with the community, and the other bit of it has to go with, obviously, the identity that they have. So changing your behaviors, true behavior change, is actually a change in identity. It's saying, this is who I am, that this is who I am will dictate the actions that you take all of the time, just the way that it goes. Your bank account, just so you know, is a result of your spending and earning habits. Let's make this as simple as possible. When you look at your bank account, if you don't like your bank account and how much is in it, your bank account is a result of only two things: how much you earn and how much you spend. Nothing else. How much you earn, how much money comes in, how much you spend, how much money you let go out of it. So if you want to change your bank account, you've either got to earn more or you've got to spend less, or both. That's it. Your body is a result of your eating habits, your working out habits, and how you take care of yourself. So if you want to change your body and make it better, you've either got to change the amount of working out that you do and the way you work out, or you've got to change the way that you eat, or both. That's it. Your business is simply a result of the hard work, the dedication, the work habits, and the commitment that you have to your business. That's it. It's very simple. Like, you don't have to, people make life and happiness and success so hard. They struggle their way to get there. But when you take a 10,000 foot view and you go, let's look at it from 10,000 feet, you go, yeah, it's really not that hard. If I want to lose weight, I got to work out more and I got to eat healthier. And I've got to, if I want to lose weight, I've got to have a deficit in my calories. I've got to burn more calories than I consume. That's it. There's nothing else. If I want to make more money, have more money in my bank account, in my savings, I've got to either make more money or spend less money, or both. That's it. There's nothing else that's to it. And so you just make simple habits around it, but you've got to ask yourself, what is your identity around that? If my identity is, I've been broke my entire life, my entire family is broke, we've always been poor, we've always struggled, rich people have to screw people over in order to make their money. If that's the identity that I have around myself and around other people who are rich, then I'm going to have a really hard time taking the action that I need to become wealthy. Simply because my identity is wrapped around this fake story. It's this narrative, this story that we're telling ourselves at all points in time. And James Clear has a quote that I love, and it's, every action is a vote for the person that you want to become, whether you realize you're doing it or not. Every action is a vote for the person that you want to become. So, how are you voting? Are you voting to become the person that you want, with the body that you want, with the bank account that you want, the relationship that you want? Or are you voting, and not realizing it, for becoming the person that you don't want to become? Not in the shape that you want, not with the relationship that you want, not with the bank account that you want, not with the business that you want. And it's little teeny tiny habits. That's why it's 1% better, not 400% better tomorrow. 1% better. It's little teeny tiny habits. Like, nobody dies from eating one hamburger. They don't. They don't have a heart attack from eating one hamburger. They have a heart attack from a bunch of decisions over 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Decisions, little tiny decisions. They accumulated over years and years, and they compounded to get them to a heart attack at 55 years old, whatever it is. No one gets fit from one push-up. No, you guys know that. It's a lot of work and time put into it. And then 1, 2, 3 years down the road, now they've got the body that they want. No one gets smart from reading one book. No, it's a bunch of reading books and having a dedication to knowledge, having a dedication to the body that they want, having a dedication to the relationship that they want, having a dedication to the bank account that they want, having a dedication to whatever it is that you want. Tiny habits make up who you are. What are your tiny habits? If I were to follow you around, I always ask this, I said, if I were to follow you around all day, every day with a pen and paper and write down every single thing that you do, what habits do you have that you'd be worried about me seeing? What actions do you take or not take that you would be like, oh shit, I don't want Rob to see this? Think about that for a second. Because those are the ones that have got to go. Those are the ones you've got to get rid of. Are you the type of person to wake up on time? Or are you the type of person to hit the snooze button 17 times every single day? Are you the type of person to spend money? Or are you the type of person to save it? Are you the type of person to eat that unhealthy food? Or are you the type of person to say no to the unhealthy food and go for the food that you know you should? Are you the type of person that says, oh, I need a glass of wine every single night? Or are you the type of person that says, you know what? I've come to realize that it's not good for me to be able to drink every single night, so I'm going to not drink every single night. I saw a study not too long ago about what one glass of wine over the course of an entire week does to your brain, compounded over 10, 20 years. And it literally, if the guy's name is Dr. Amen, if you want to go to him, he's got a book called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, AMEN. Dr. Amen literally puts holes in your brain from having one alcoholic drink every single week. Holy shit, right? But if you look at someone's brain at 60 years old who decided to drink a little bit, and they've got a brain that isn't complete, when you look at the scan, it's because of just decisions that they made. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. It's just simple. You're going to get the results of your life based off of the decisions and the actions that you take. That's it. There's nothing else. You're going to get the results based off of decisions and actions that you have in your life. That's it. Those things come from your identity. And that's what we're trying to shift every single day to become 1% better, right? We only see people who are successful in their end result at the end. But we don't see the little teeny tiny things that they did for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get there. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and we start something brand new and we're excited to start about something brand new. And then within 2 weeks, we're pissed off because we're not at mile 1,000 yet. No, dude, you're at literally step 14 and you're pissed off that you're not at mile 1,000. Every single day is another step. You got to know that the journey, as long as you're on the right path, to get there and you're progressing there every single day, it's a win. And you've got to just know that eventually time will get you to where you want to be. You can't be pissed off that you're not where you want to be, 2 weeks into starting a brand new business. You're not there yet. It's not time. You can't look on Instagram and see somebody who has a Lamborghini or the body that you don't have and be like, oh yeah, well, they were just born with money or they were just blessed with that body. No, they fucking took action to make the money that they wanted to get the Lamborghini, or they worked out and ate in order to get that body. Like, just simply look at it. Stop giving excuses as to why you're not having the body or the Lamborghini that they have, and simply realize they did actions that got them that body or that Lamborghini. And if I take actions, I can get that body or that Lamborghini as well. It's that simple. Don't compare yourself to other people. And also don't compare yourself, if you're week 1 in the gym, to some woman who's been working out for 5 years and be like, well, I'm not where she is. You can't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. As long as you're on the journey and trying to improve every single day and noticing, oh, you know what? Well, at least I'm working out 4 times a week now. 3 weeks ago, I wasn't working out at all. At least I've lost a pound in the past couple weeks. At least I'm not eating the food that I was eating. You're on the path to where you want to go. That's all that really matters. It's the path of just changing yourself and becoming a little bit better every single day. You can't compare yourself to other people because some people have been on the same path that you're now on or starting to get on for a lot longer than you. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. Stop shaming the other people and stop making excuses as to why they're there because they're blessed with certain genetics and because they're blessed with being in a family that gave them enough money to get a Lamborghini or whatever it is, and go, you know what? Good for them. They're just a little bit further along in this journey than I am. I'm going to be there one day as well. Who do you want to be in 10 years? What do you want your actions to line up with? Like, what actions do you need to take in order to line up with that life? Right? Do your actions right now line up with that future 10 years from today? Do your current actions look like the habits and the actions of the person that you need to become? Because if they don't, shift them, move them, change them just a little bit. It's never what you need to do in order to get to the life that you want. It's who you need to become in order to make that life happen. That's the interesting thing about it, is most people think, oh, I need to do all of these things, which I agree with. But if I become the type of person who is healthy, and I tell myself that I'm healthy and stop telling myself, oh, my entire family is just overweight, that's what I'm going to be. But if I tell myself I am a healthy person, I will start to make healthier decisions. It's not about what you need to do in order to get the life that you need or you want. It's about who you need to become in order to get the life that you want. And if you become that person, you will simply start to do the things that type of person will do. And you have to change a lot less about yourself than you realize. A whole lot less. There's maybe 5 or 10 things that you really need to change about yourself to have massive changes in your life. And I'm talking about little tiny changes. It's not 50 different changes, not 100 different changes. It's like wake up earlier, have a morning routine, meditate a little bit, read a little bit, eat food that's good for you and realize that food is medicine. Stop poisoning your body. Stop procrastinating and just start taking action. Stop making excuses as to why you're not where you want to be. Take full ownership of your life. Work out 3, 4, 5 times a week and stop watching TV and the news. And if you do most of those things, you're going to have a pretty damn good life in about 10 years. It's not a million things that you need to change. It's just a few things throughout your day. It's just about being 1% better. So it's not about being a brand new person tomorrow. It's about being 1% better when you go to bed tonight than you were when you woke up. And you have to decide, is this journey that I'm on, is it a hobby? Is it something that I'm just trying out? Or is this a lifestyle? Is this a lifestyle of me just trying to be better every single day? And all you have to do, and this is what I want you to do, an assignment I'm going to give you if you're listening to this, okay? I want you to identify 3 to 5 small habits, not massive habits, 3 to 5 small habits that you want to implement and start implementing into your day every single day. And then once you write those down, I want you to ask yourself, how can I make taking action on these easier? And make a plan to make these easier. And eventually, if you just keep improving a little bit every single day, you'll wake up a year from today and you realize, holy shit, I'm in a much better place than I was 12 months ago at this very moment. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please do me a favor. Please go ahead and go to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, however you listen to us, and give us a rating and review. It helps the podcast more than you could possibly know. It helps us pop up in the organic rankings. It helps us pop up and become more identifiable to people who don't know who we are, and we grow organically, and the podcast grows from as well. So please go ahead and give a rating review if you've ever gotten any information that's been valuable for you. And if you want to receive an email from me every single Monday, I have a Monday mindset email with my intention going into every single week. All you have to do is go to mondayemail.com. It is absolutely free. You can see what my intentions are going into every single week. And if you like it, you can take those intentions and start to put them into your week as well. So go to mondayemail.com right now. Sign up. It's absolutely free. And once again, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave every single episode. Make it your mission, make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. You are the only person responsible for fixing your life. You're just waiting for an apology for somebody, or you're wanting some sort of closure, or you're waiting for someone to come and save you. You're going to be waiting forever. Today, we're going to be talking about 8 steps to unfuck your life. How to basically get your life back together. So this could be if your life is going pretty decent, but you know you want it to be a whole lot better, or this could feel like you're absolutely in the trenches. This is going to be made for you. So let's be real. Life is amazing. It's beautiful. It's also a hot mess. And one day you can wake up and you can feel like, hey, I got a grip on things. Things are going pretty well. Next day you can wake up and feel like you're drowning in overdue bills. You have all these bad habits. You have toxic relationships. Your tummy fat is falling a little bit more over your waistband. Sound familiar? Well, welcome to be a human. That's the way that we all are. The good news is that you can turn your life around. You can be the person to unfuck your life. No matter how deep you feel like you're in the trenches, you can turn it around. It won't be something that's going to happen overnight. So if you just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get my life together overnight, it ain't happening. It won't be very easy. But if you're willing to put in the work, I don't know if there's a better thing that you should be doing than trying to put your own life back together. And so I'm going to give you the 8 different steps, the roadmap to reclaiming your life no matter where your life is, okay? The first one, which is probably the most important, is to own it. If you take nothing else from this list, take this. You are the only person responsible for fixing your life. Everything that happened to you in your past, everything that happened to you in your childhood, not everything was your fault. Some things happened. Some things were done to you. Some things you could not avoid. But even though they weren't your fault, they are still your responsibility to deal with. But if you sit around and you're just waiting for an apology for somebody, or you're wanting some sort of closure, or you're waiting for someone to come and save you, you're going to be waiting forever. And so at some point, you've got to look and go, if someone's going to fix my life, it's going to be me. And I didn't want these things to happen in my past, but this is the cards I've been dealt, so I've got to do something with it. The only way forward is to take radical responsibility. You know, I realized this when I was 19, 20 years old, first getting into personal development, and I wanted to hold resentment towards my dad, who, was an alcoholic when I was a child, who passed away when I was 15 from liver failure from being an alcoholic. And I wanted to be mad at him the rest of my life. But then I realized that happened, that's not my fault. The way that my dad was not my fault, but it was the life I was given. It is my responsibility to deal with. And if I just decide that I want to hold a grudge to someone my entire life, it's just going to hold me back. And so you have to stop playing the blame game at some point. Yes, your parents might have screwed up. Yeah, your ex might have been toxic. Yes, your life may have been unfair. But the longer that you point fingers at other people, the longer that you're going to stay stuck. And so what you need to do is take an honest inventory of your entire life. Where do you need to make changes? Where are you slacking in your life? Where are you self-sabotaging? Write all of them down. Take like a real account of what's going on in your life. If you can't fix something, then you've got to figure out some sort of way to change whatever it is. If you can't fix a relationship, you got to change a relationship. If you can't fix another person, you got to change a person, right? And so you have to figure out some sort of way to get everything back on track that's not on track right now. Focus on what you can control is important. You can't control the past, but you can't control the actions that you take right now today. And so what I want you to do is I want you to write down every area of your life that feels like it's out of control. For some of you listening, it might be 1. For some of you listening, it might be 10. Write down every single one of them. And instead of writing excuses down or continuing to believe excuses, just write down one small action that you can take to start fixing each one of those. So that's the first thing, is you've got to own it, okay? The second thing is you've got to cut the toxicity. You've heard me talk about this before, but your life is a direct reflection of who and what you tolerate. If you're surrounded by negativity and drama and self-destructive habits, it will make moving forward in your life incredibly hard. I really want to say this, and I really want this to hit home with you. Don't underestimate how much all of the toxicity around you can hold you down. It's like life is hard enough. Trying to get to your goal and create the life that you want and run this marathon of life and get to quote unquote success, whatever a successful life means to you, it's hard enough. But if your environment is pulling you down, it just makes it so much harder. It's like trying to run with a backpack that's full of 100 pounds weights. It's going to be harder. Sometimes you just got to let go of the weights. And so take a look at a few different things. Number one, the people around you. If someone's constantly draining your energy, they disrespect you, they make you feel like they don't deserve access to you. And so set some boundaries, cut them off if it's necessary. Second thing to look at is your habits. The things that you do on a daily basis shape your future. The actions that you take will become the results in the future that you have. If your habits include binge drinking or mindlessly scrolling or procrastinating or worrying or holding yourself back, then you're the one that needs to change it. And then look at your environment, what's around you. Your surroundings really matter. If you have clutter, if you have chaos, if you have bad energy that keeps you stuck, whatever it might be, clean up the space mentally and physically. Change your scenery in some sort of way. All of these things affect your mental health in some way. And there's nothing more important than your mental health. And so I want you to think of, identify one toxic person or habit or thing in your environment that you need to remove from your life and start distancing yourself today. So that's number 2. Number 3, just get your money right. Okay? At some point, you got to realize you're an adult. You're in the money game. You have to use money in your life if you're going to live in society. So you've got to get it right in some sort of way. If you're constantly stressed out about money, you're giving up your peace. You're giving up your freedom and your power as well. Getting your finances together isn't about being rich. It's about not living in survival mode anymore. And so you've got to face your numbers in some sort of way. Ignoring your bank account won't make the problem go away. I remember for me, I used to hate checking my bank account when I was 21, 22 years old because I never knew if I'd have a few $100s or if I would have overdraft fees of a few $100s. So you've got to check your balance. You've got to understand your credit, your debits. You've got to get clear on where your money is going. And I recommend that every single person, because I know so many people don't do this, actually create a real budget that works. If you need help creating a budget, go on YouTube, look up how to create a budget and follow someone's YouTube video to do it. It'll take you maybe an hour to do. And then as you do it, cut all of your unnecessary expenses, like your Amazon purchases. But, leave some room for joy, going out and doing some fun things, but make a plan. Make some sort of plan for you to build wealth in your life. Even if it's just saving like $5 a week or starting a side hustle. You have to start somewhere. The thing that I realized when I was younger is that money is a game. It really is. And you're in the money game if you're going to live in society. You're in the money game whether you want to be in it or not. And so if you're like, I don't like the way that society is, I don't like money, I don't like greed, all of this stuff, unless you're going to go live in a forest, you're in the game. So you might as well learn how to play the game. You might as well learn the rules. Will it require time and energy? Yes. But will it save you so much time, money, and energy to learn the game? Absolutely. And so you've got to understand that. Whether you want to be in the game or not, you're in it. So you can either decide that you can just remain ignorant to the fact that you don't understand how money works, or you can go, you know what? I'm in this game. I need to figure it out. And if you do that and you start learning about it, you realize it's really not that complex. You might go, well, I might need to change my job. I might need to make a budget. I might need to do this. I might need to do that. And so the action step I want to give you from this is to make some form of a budget. You'd be so surprised where your money is going if you think that you have none. I remember when Laura and I first started dating, 11 years ago at this point. She had a job. She moved up to Austin from San Antonio. I was up in Austin, and she had a job for probably about 9 months. And she's like, I have no money. She kept saying that. And I was like, well, okay, like how much money do you make every other week? She told me how much money she makes every other week. I said, okay, well, like how much do you have that goes to rent? How much do you have that goes to your phone, to your car, to your insurance? And I added it all up. This is a true story. Add it all up and I go, because I'm a big numbers person. She's not as much of a numbers person as I am. I go, Lauren, there's $500 that you're making that's not accounted for. Like, where's the other $500 going? And she's like, there's no way there's $500. I'm like, I'm literally looking at there's $500 a month that you have extra after your bills that's coming in from your paycheck after taxes. She's like, there's definitely not. And I said, okay, well then let's do the hard thing. Do you want to go ahead and print out the last 3 months of your debit card, and you and I can literally go through every single one of them? I can categorize them for you and we can figure out where the money's going. She's like, sure, because I'm going to show you there's not $500 extra. I was like, all right, cool. And so we did it. It took us a couple hours to do. We categorized every single thing that she went through. Ended up finding out where the $500 a month was going to. Do you want to know where? Target. Because she would just walk into Target and just randomly buy. And that's what Target's made for, right? And so she was like, I'm just going to stop going to Target. She stopped going to Target. She was able to start saving money because magically she had $500 more in her bank account every single month. And so I recommend that you do that because you'd be surprised where all of the different holes in your bucket are leaking out to. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, move your body more, even when you don't feel like it. Your body is the only home that you'll ever have. If you neglect it, it will fall apart. It might not fall apart today or tomorrow, but it will fall apart. Stop acting like it won't. Exercise isn't about just looking good. It's about taking care of the place that you live. Take care of your mental clarity, your discipline, your longevity, all of that. So find some sort of movement or workout that you enjoy. You don't have to go in and just like lift heavy weights. You can lift weights if you want to. You can go walking, you can go running, you can do yoga, you could do dancing, you could do primal movements. Just do some form of movement. Stop waiting for motivation to come through before you start moving your body because you won't always feel like it, but you're going to need to do it anyways. And if you do find something that you enjoy, you're more likely to do it than something that you don't enjoy. And you can just start small. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference because so many of us are just sitting all day long. Your body was made to move. If you go back 100,000 years to our ancestors, they weren't just sitting down all day long. They were moving, they were doing things. Your body's made to do that. Move in some sort of way. And so the action step I want to give you from this is choose one form of movement and commit to doing it for at least 10 minutes every day this week. Sound good? That's number 4. Number 5, clean up your diet. Please clean up your diet. Your diet directly affects your energy, your mood, your focus, how you treat yourself, how you treat people around you. And food is either your medicine or it's your poison. And if you eat like you're going to feel like. And food is another thing, just like money, that I had to figure out. I had to start reading about it. I had to start learning about it so that I could understand, okay, well, I can't escape the money game, so I might as well learn about it. I can't escape the diet game and this body game, so I might as well learn about it. Might as well learn what it looks like and what my nutrition should be and what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat. Maybe I should learn how to read labels. And so simple things are like hydrate more often. It's crazy to me how few people are hydrated in this world. Like most people walk around dehydrated and mistake their thirst for hunger. So many people have headaches all day long and they're just dehydrated. So many people have soreness and sore muscles and cramps and they're just dehydrated. Just drink more water, please. Drink half of your body weight in ounces every single day. Okay. Also, what I would recommend, prioritize protein and real food. So try to have less processed garbage and more whole foods in some sort of way. General rule of thumb that I live off of, if it doesn't go in the fridge or it doesn't go bad out of the fridge within a couple of days, I don't eat it. That's just going to help you stay away from processed food. So once again, if it goes in the fridge, usually pretty good. If it goes bad outside of the fridge within a couple of days, usually pretty good. If I can put it in my pantry and it's good for the next 6 months, not good, right? So that's just a general rule of thumb. And so just start making small, sustainable swaps. Instead of soda, drink water. Instead of chips, grab some fruit, grab some nuts in some sort of way. And so choose one unhealthy habit that you have and replace it with a better one this week. Okay, that's number 5. Number 6, stop wasting your time on that doesn't matter. If you feel like you don't have time, track where your hours go. You'll be shocked. The same way that if you do a budget on your money, if you do a budget on your time, you'd be so surprised how much time you waste on stuff that doesn't matter. Do you do doom scrolling? We'll cut it in half. Do you do Netflix marathons? Limit it to your weekends. Do you say yes to everything and everybody because you're a people pleaser? Start saying no. Do you find a lot of the time you're stuck not doing something because you're worrying too much? Figure out a way to worry less. You know, if you won't remember it in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Do you ruminate too much in the past? Well, have you figured out a way to change the past yet? No? How's that working for you? Oh, it doesn't fix anything. Interesting. So what I would recommend is that you audit your time for an entire day. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? You know, have an alarm go off on your phone every single hour and say, what did I just do for the hour? You'd be really, really interested and surprised by where your time goes. Most people think they don't have enough time. It's that most people don't use their time correctly. So that's number 6. Number 7, start building a life that you get excited to wake up to. Existing isn't the same as living. If your days feel like a chore, if it feels like a lot to get up and to do something and to take yourself to do what you need to do to live your life, something needs to change. What excites you? Figure it out. Make a list. Do more of that. What drains you? Make a list. Do less of it. Stop waiting for someday. Just start today in some sort of way. And so write down something that excites you, something that you've been wanting to do for a while. Write down one goal or dream that you've been putting off, and then just take some baby step towards the future. Life is so much more exciting when you have something coming up in the future that you're working towards, or that you have a vacation or a hobby that you're coming up. And so that's what I'd recommend is like figure out something that you can do that's coming up down the line that you can have that excites you. So that's number 7. And number 8, get out of your comfort zone more often. Growth is uncomfortable. If you avoid discomfort, you will avoid growing. Feel the fear and do it anyways. Push past your limits. You're capable of way more than you think. Stop running from the hard things. The only way out is through. And so sometimes you just need to go, this thing that I kind of want to do, it also kind of scares me. It's also really out of my comfort zone. Screw it. I'm going to do it anyways. So find one thing that excites you a little bit, but also kind of scares the crap out of you. Figure out what it is, and then take that leap. So with the bottom line of all of this is getting your life together isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. And I say this all the time, but Tony Robbins says progress equals happiness. Whenever I am, for myself, but also around other people who are progressing in some sort of way, they're always so much happier because they feel like they're growing and they're moving in the right direction. They've got something to look forward to in the future. One step leads to another. So you've got to start somewhere. And before you know it, if you do these little tiny things, you're no longer stuck. So I want you to figure out right now, what's your first move? Say it out loud to yourself right now. Pick one and do it today. What is one action that you can do today? Your future self is counting on you. Everyone around you, your family, they're all counting on you. What can you do to create the life that you want? Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. YouTube thinks based off of everything you've been watching recently, you should watch this video next. And if you want to subscribe and make sure you don't miss any more videos, click that button right there. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the number one fear that I hear from people that holds them back from creating the life that they want, the fear of failure. We're going to talk about the fear of failure, and I'm going to teach you how to get past it. Let's dive in. There's many times where I'm running a Zoom or I'm on a call or I'm in front of a group of people, and I'll be on a weekly session with my Mindset Mentor University people, and I'll say, hey, what's everyone's number one fear that holds them back from creating the life they want? 90 to 95% of the time, it's the fear of failure. Without fail, it's always the fear of failure dominates it. Are there other ones? The fear of rejection, the fear of not being loved, all of that. Yes, but the fear of failure is the one that dominates everyone else's head. And so I decided I'm going to do an episode specifically on the fear of failure. I believe personally that fear is absolutely 100% the worst thing in the world. It stops us from chasing our dreams. That's it. Fear gets in the way of chasing our dreams. It stops people from having the life that they truly want. It stops people from starting that business. It stops people from pursuing that dream. Fear is also the root of hate. When you fear something, when you have hate, you hate that thing because you fear what you do not know. And so the fear holds everybody back from creating the life that they want. But also, in my opinion, it is also the root of hate because you fear what you do not know. And if you truly knew someone else, another person, I'm talking about you freaking knew them, you wouldn't ever hate somebody. You would understand them. If you knew and you understood the other person, their past, what they've gone through, the things that have been terrible in their lives, everything that happened to them, you can never hate them, which means that fear is the root of all of the problems. It's fear is the root of any type of war. I fear your country and what your country will do and could act first. So I'm not going to have you beat me. So I'm going to attack first. I'm going to go to war with you because I have a fear of you guys attacking me and I have a fear of death. And so we're going to go ahead and go on the quote unquote offensive, right? And so when we look at fear, in my opinion, fear is the worst thing that exists in the world because it holds us back from creating the life that we want. But then also at the same time, it is the root of hate. And so when we look at fear and we look at the fear of failure specifically, when you look at the fear of failure really, interestingly enough, has nothing to do with failure. It's a fear that all of my insecurities will come to light. So, if I go out there and I go, you know what, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to start this business and I have the fear of what if this business fails? It's not really the failure of the business that I'm afraid of. It's that if the business fails, then I'm going to finally see I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent. I'm not worthy of XYZ. And so it's not really the actual event of the failure that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that if this happens, all of my insecurities that I try to run from, that I try to act like don't exist, will then come to light. Because at the center of everyone's fears is I'm not good enough. And if I fail, it will be shown to me that I am not good enough to succeed. So what do most people choose? Oh, well, instead of seeing my insecurities, I would rather live a life of mediocrity so I don't have to see the places where I'm not good enough. I fear being judged. And so I won't start that business because if it fails, I know for sure someone's going to judge me. So I don't want to be judged. And if I do fail in this business, oh my God, I'm probably going to be judged even harder. And so a lot of times, most times, the fear of failure literally has nothing to do with failure in the first place. It's that if I do fail, my insecurities that I'm trying to run from are going to come to light. So if you've ever felt the fear of failure, what are the insecurities that failing would bring to light? Think about that for a second. What are you running from? What are you so afraid to see? Because in this case, one of my favorite quotes that goes along with this is that the cave that you're afraid to enter holds the treasure that you seek. The thing that you're afraid to do holds the treasure that you seek, the freedom that you're trying to get from not feeling worthy, not having enough self-worth, not feeling like you're good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, whatever it might be, not going to be a good parent. Because when you screw up, you're not failing. This is a crazy part about it. Like I've personally, now I'm 37 years old, but I started in my first business at 19. So I've been failing for I've been fucking up things for half of my life all the time, right? When you screw up, that's not failing. I screw up every single day, multiple times a day in everything that I do in my business, everything. But that's not failing, that's screwing up. And we tend to look at screw ups as failure. Failure is not final. Failure is just a function. It's something that you're supposed to learn from. It's falling more than anything else. You fell down. Okay, well, what are you supposed to learn from it? You only actually fail at something when you give up on that thing. So if I want to start, let's go back to the business example, right? If I want to start this business and I'm afraid of failure, if I go out and I run this business for 6 months and I still don't get into the positive, like I'm still running at negative and I haven't gotten the revenue to where I want to be. Like let's say, for instance, I want to get my revenue to $10,000 a month in 6 months. And in 6 months, I'm at $1,000 a month. I haven't failed. There's no failure in there. I've screwed up. I've messed up. But through that, I've learned how not to bring in $10,000 a month. And so when you fail, when you fall, that's not failure. And so the only time you actually fail is when you give up. So if you get to 6 months and go, oh my gosh, I'm at 1/10 of my goal, I'm not going to do this anymore. That is when it becomes a failure, when you gave up. And think about this. How many times have you given up on yourself throughout your life? When you see someone that's successful, you just see someone who just didn't give up. That's all that you see. You see a stubborn person who can't give up. That's really what you see. The most successful people are the most stubborn people. You know, if you look at Honda, the creator of Honda has a quote that says, success is 99% failure. That's what it is. The great thing about success, the really great thing about success is you just have to not fail one time. You just have to not screw up one time. You just have to find success one time. So it's literally like opening a bunch of doors and none of them work 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 for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And then eventually you find the one that works. You know, like I always say to people, if I said, hey, if I gave you like, you know, when you look at a janitor in the movies and they have that big, huge ring and on the ring, they have like 500 keys. What if I gave you one of those rings with 10,000 keys? And I was like, hey, this is a door right here. One of these keys works, but on the other side of this door is $1 million. Would you go through every single key to find out which one works? Absolutely. Now, does that mean that all of the other keys were failures? No, they were just the one that didn't work. Really, that's how success is. It's the same way. It's 9,999 screw ups. Then you finally get the one key that works. And does it take time? It does. Everybody wants success immediately. Everybody wants instant gratification, but it takes years to build something that's really great. There's a reason why the phrase Rome wasn't built in a day exists. Like when I look back to me and just my business, and this podcast is a great example, right? Like the podcast did decent. When I started in 2015, it did decent. We did pretty well, but for about 3 years, so it was 2015, 2016, started growing. For about 3 or 4 years, I was level at the exact same number every single month for about 3 or 4 years, almost no growth. And then something happened in 2020 and it was like a hockey stick moment. And the numbers went from like pretty level to just like, holy crap, it exploded. But it took me starting the podcast in 2015, 5 fucking years to get to 2020 where it finally had that hockey stick moment. I had 5 years of being so freaking stubborn to not give up before it finally took off. Most people are not willing to continue to keep going until they find success. Right? I've screwed up many times in growing this podcast and growing the business that I have. I just, didn't wake up and go, oh my gosh, we're doing a couple million downloads a year. No, I didn't wake up and get to this point, and it took time to get to a point. And so, it was crazy where we were like, leveling off at like 100,000 downloads a month for years. And then it like 40x'd in a couple months. And so it's like, when I look at the podcast, when I look at my business, when I look at everything that I do, I probably succeed like 5% of the time. The rest is just me throwing stuff at the wall and trying to find out what sticks. And like for me, when I keep using the podcast as an example, but like when I first started the podcast, I had read an article that says the average person who starts a podcast does 7 episodes and then they quit. And this was back in 2015 when not many people did podcasts. And I thought to myself, all right, I'll do 14. And if I like it at 14, I just won't stop. And if I don't stop, I'll probably figure it out and I'll probably succeed. I committed to 14. We're at over 1,300 podcast episodes at this point. And so it takes time, almost 300 million downloads. It just takes time. And people are not willing to put in the time. I just didn't stop. I'm not that great. I just didn't stop. And so I want you to understand the exact same thing. Like, you're going to fail. You're going to mess up. I've failed many times. I've had bad reviews. I've had crappy comments. I've had emails saying that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I didn't care what other people were saying. I just kept going. And so you got to start to think about this. Like, where could you be in your life if you stopped listening to the fear of failure and just started whatever it is that you want to start? And then when you quote unquote failed or fell or screwed up, whatever it is that you want to call it, what if you just kept going and you didn't stop? Where could you be in 5 years? How different could your life be today? Like I told you, it took me 5 years of the podcast before it finally really exploded. Where could you be in 5 years if you stopped listening to the fear of failure, if you stopped paying attention to what other people said, and you just started doing something and you just decided, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to put 5 years into this thing. The problem is that most people are not willing to put 5 years into something. And so you have to, and it's a great example of the Chinese bamboo. You put the seed inside of the ground, you water it, you give it sun, and Chinese bamboo does not grow outside of the soil for about 5 to 6 years. And at year 5, year 6, it will grow up to 80 feet in 6 months. That's what success looks like. It's 5 years of screwing it up and trying to figure it out. You have to have something that I call failure amnesia. Don't think about the times that you failed. Think about your successes. Even if it's just once, think about why you will succeed versus why you haven't in the past. Because what's more important is your future, not your past. Your past doesn't dictate your future. Why can I say that? I've had multiple failed businesses in the past, quote unquote failed. I learned a lot from them, but it doesn't mean that when I start this business or when I started this business that it would fail because I had other failed businesses, because you never walk through the same river twice. I'm not the same person and it's not the same river. I'm not the same person as I was when I had those failed businesses. And the business is not the same as it was back then. And so you have to understand that when you look at the fear of failure, it's usually not the fear of failure in the first place. There's insecurities that are behind it. And what you really have to understand is that your fear will never go away. Fear will probably be omnipresent in your life. Successful people are not fearless. I hate when someone says, and now we're going to bring up our fearless leader, and they say their name. No, your fearless leader is not fearless. They are scared shitless a lot of the time. But the difference is they do it anyways. They feel the fear and they do it anyways. You have to learn to do the same. For me, I'm more afraid of dying and not seeing my true potential than I am the fear of failure. That's it. If I were to get to the end of my life and be on my deathbed and not realize my full potential, that's what I'm afraid of way more than somebody judging me or someone rejecting me or the fear of failure in some sort of way. That drives me to do more. And to be honest with you, I expect failure. I expect failure. You have to expect failure. You have to expect not doing it the way that you want to. And maybe I'll take the word failure out. You have to expect screwing up. You have to expect falling. You have to expect all of that. But those are the moments when you learn the most. And you have to feel the fear and do it anyways. You have to kind of dance with the fear. It's like the tango, right? You got to dance with it. It's going to be there. It's not leaving you. And so it's more like, okay, I know the fear is going to be here. I know this feeling. I know what it feels like. You know what? I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to dance with this fear. I'm going to allow this fear to, is it possible that I can use this fear to actually create something better? Versus it holding me back, is there a way to use it to make something better? If you're writing a book and you have a fear that it's going to be this shit book, can you use that fear instead of stopping you from putting the book out? Can you use that fear to go, you know what? I'm going to do some extra editing sessions. I'm going to do some more research. I'm going to look at this book and say, can I make this even better? And now you're using the fear to actually make a better book versus stopping you from writing the book in the first place. So instead of fear paralyzing you, it can then propel you to do something better. The issue with fear is that you've trained yourself. We've all trained ourselves with fear. We feel fear and we stop. We feel fear and we stop. We feel fear and we stop. It's kind of like Pavlov's dogs. They ring the bell, bing, bing. And then when the bell rings, they give them a treat. And then they ring the bell and they give them a treat. They ring the bell and they give them a treat. And eventually they ring the bell and the dog, its mouth starts salivating. Its body is already expecting that treat. You've trained yourself to feel fear and back off. You need to retrain your brain. You need to retrain yourself that when I feel fear, because fear, we all know that your comfort zone is what you have to get out of in order to create the life you want, right? Because your comfort zone is where you currently are. So if I'm going to change something, if I'm going to change my life, I need to get out of my comfort zone. Well, the beautiful thing about fear is that fear is the physical manifestation in your body of your comfort zone. When you feel fear, it is showing you that you have reached the end of your comfort zone. So instead of backing away, which is staying in your comfort zone, lean in just a little bit. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling really a whole lot of fear right now. Why am I? Okay, it's probably because I'm at the edge of my comfort zone. So instead of backing away, I'm going to lean in just a little bit more, right? You have to retrain your brain to move towards the fear versus moving away from the fear. Expect the fear. It's going to be there. It's going to be omnipresent. Do it anyways. Dance with the fear. And remember this, you only have to succeed one time. That's the beautiful thing about it. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Once again, for those of you that are in the United States and Canada, if you want to see the inspirational texts and videos from me to your phone, text me right now, 512-580-9305. Once again, 512-580-9305. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Everyone that you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about becomes more and more true because you can meet people and be like, oh my God, I can't believe the things that you've been through. I want you to understand that some of you listening have been through a lot of those types of things. Some of you listening are sitting there going, well, I haven't really been through that much trauma. Like my life was pretty good. And I want you to understand this. It doesn't have to be a massive trauma for it to leave a deep scar. Today, we're going to be talking about who you are and that you, no matter how screwed up you think you are perfect right now as you are. And I want to start off by saying, in my line of work, I have seen all of the best things in the world. I've also seen and heard all of the worst things in the world. I have heard like the amount of things that people go through in their life, in their childhood, in their teenage years, in their adulthood, the things that people have gone through is absolutely insane. To be in my line of work and not be more and more compassionate for people every single day, to not have more compassion is impossible because you start to realize that the phrase, everyone that you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about, becomes more and more true because you can meet people and be like, oh my God, I can't believe the things that you've been through. And I hear abuse, mental, physical, sexual abuse, suicides, murders. I mean, it's like the craziest things, the neglect and traumas and all of these things, all of the most terrible things in the world. And I want you to understand that some of you listening have been through a lot of those types of things. Some of you listening are sitting there going, well, I haven't really been through that much trauma. Like my life was pretty good. And I want you to understand this. It doesn't have to be a massive trauma for it to leave a deep scar. And some people feel bad, and I've had conversations with many people, they feel bad because they feel like their lives have been pretty good. Like their parents were pretty good. Their life was pretty good. You know, they had some things that happened in their teenage years and maybe they were bullied and maybe they didn't fit in when they were a child, but they feel like they don't deserve to feel like they have trauma because they didn't have like what they consider like absolute terrible trauma. And, you know, some people, maybe they weren't abused in some sort of way, or maybe they didn't have any big T trauma, as you can call it. But, you know, they had stuff like their dad worked all the time and never gave them love, or they felt like they had to achieve in order for them to even impress their parents. Or, you know, I have a friend who just told me the other day that he got 1 B- in high school and his parents grounded him for the entire summer. And then, you know, there's other people that say stuff like their mother she would pull away her love when she was mad, or their mother instilled fear in them because she was afraid and she disguised fear as love. And some people's trauma is neglect and emotional neglect and physical neglect. And I want you to understand that all trauma is trauma in the brain. And so when you look at the brain and we look at the emotional capacity of a child and a human as we get older, big trauma, we'll just phrase them as these, right? Big trauma and small trauma is a human measurement. Trauma at its simplest form is basically not getting what you needed in your development in some sort of way. And I like to think of trauma as like a breakaway from what is love. And so, I'm not saying like your parents have to be perfect in order for you to be perfect, but there are many people who I talk to where their parents had emotional abuse, and that emotional abuse was, you have to be this way or else I'm going to act like I don't love you, or I'm not going to do what you want, or I'm not going to give you food. Like I can't even like describe, there's so many different things that I've heard, but that is if a parent has emotional abuse or emotional neglect, that is a breakaway from a state of love. If someone has physical neglect, that is a breakaway from a state of love. If someone has heartbreak, that is a breakaway from a state of love. And so it can be a big event or it can be a small event that closes you up to development later on in life. And so one thing that I hear with a lot of people is because of things that have happened in their past, big T trauma, small T trauma, is people tell me this phrase that they feel broken. Like that's a phrase that I hear very often. They feel broken, or they don't feel whole, or they don't feel worthy in some way. They feel like they tend to feel like something is wrong with them. A lot of times people say like, I feel like I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to be healthy. I don't deserve to be wealthy. I don't deserve to be successful. And I want you to understand, I'm not trying to undermine anybody's trauma, but when you look at trauma and then you look at it in the brain and you realize that what happens is things happen to us, big things, small things happen to us. But what we tend to do as well is we tend to make a story around it of how that makes us not enough, how that makes us not lovable, how that makes us not worthy. And so there's a thing that happens, right? That's the trauma, the trauma that happens. And then there's the story that we develop around it. And so it's like this thing could have happened 17 years ago to somebody, but they developed some sort of narrative, and that narrative is now carrying into 17 years later and changing the way that what they think about themselves, or they think about the world. And one of my favorite things, if you listen to this podcast for a while, that you'll hear me say is I love three-legged dogs. And the reason why I love three-legged dogs is because that dog is the same amount of happy as a dog with four legs. That dog is the same amount of love as a dog with four legs. That dog is the same amount of joy as a dog with four legs, which means that this losing of the leg didn't change what they thought about themselves in the world, because they don't develop narratives like we do. But something can happen to us, and it could be big, it could be small. It could be, for instance, let's just take something that a lot of people deal with, right? Heartbreak. Lots of people have heartbreak. And from heartbreak, it's not like they just go next in the next relationship, they just go very easily into, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But usually it's like, this person broke my heart, and now there's a story that's attached to it. And I'm not worthy of love. And I'm not smart enough. And I should have shown up better for them. And they develop some sort of narrative about themselves. Dogs never develop some sort of narrative about themselves. Like our dog, Toby, who passed away a few years ago, he was almost 14, right? And he started losing his eyesight. And I started feeling really bad for him, and Lauren started feeling really bad for him. But he didn't feel bad for himself. That's a human construct. Like Toby was not less happy as his eyesight started to get worse. There's no thought in Toby's mind, or there was no thought in Toby's mind of something is wrong with me. And so many humans will say something like, I feel broken. I don't feel whole. I feel like part of me is missing. I feel like a part of me was stolen. And I want you to understand all of that. So I don't want to say like, and this once again, I don't want to say that trauma doesn't exist, and I don't want to undermine people's trauma. That's not what I'm trying to say in any sort of way. I want you to start paying attention to the story that you're telling yourself around whatever that thing might have been, right? Whatever, if it's a heartbreak, let's go back to that. What's the story that you're telling yourself around it? What's the identity that you've given yourself since that thing has happened, right? It's just a story that you're telling yourself. And you can believe it if you want to, but it's just a story. It doesn't mean that it's true. The more that you repeat it, though, the more that you start to believe it. And as you start to believe something, like most people think that their beliefs are truth, but your beliefs are just a story that you've been saying to yourself. It's a thought that you've been repeating over and over again. And so when you look at it, you have to realize it's not that you are broken. It's not that you're unwhole. It's not that you're unlovable. It's not that you're unworthy. It's not that something is missing. It's that you won't stop repeating that story. And that story cannot be your identity. And you might have taken behaviors in the past. Maybe that heartbreak came because you had certain behaviors that made that relationship dissolve, right? You can't take, and this is a really key thing, and I hope that people really hear it and start to understand it and think about this in their life. You cannot take a behavior and turn it into an identity, right? So if, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. If you're a parent and you have a stressful day and you have a hard day and you accidentally blow up because your children, something happens, right? They don't pick up for themselves 3, 4, 5 times of asking them. And it's like a boiling pot and you blow up. And then an hour later, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I can't believe I did that. And then there's a behavior where you blew up, which happens to a lot of people, right? You just got to a tipping point. And then you take that behavior. A lot of people take that behavior and make an identity out of it. So it's like, I blew up, and they start thinking, I'm a bad mother. No. Those are two completely different things. There's behavior and there's identity. And so you have to be able to separate the two of them and say, okay, no, I'm still a really good mother. I just had a hard moment. And so it's like, you can still say, I am worthy of love. It's just, I wasn't really sure what I was doing back then. If you had behaviors that caused the heartbreak, and you have to start realizing it's a story we're telling ourselves. And the real important thing is, what is the underlying story that you're telling yourself around these things that have happened to you in your past? If you tell a child that monsters are under their bed every day, they will be terrified to go to bed. And so what monsters have you been creating in your own mind? Have you been telling yourself a lie? When you really start to look at it, it's this thing that we can start to work through and we can start to come in contact with and maybe become like a little bit like, you can do this in a safe space. You could do it on your own. You could do it if you want to start going to therapy, but like start thinking and maybe diving a little bit more into this thing that happened to you in your past. So like for me, like my father passed away when I was 15. He was an alcoholic. There was a lot of moments that I remember feeling very unsafe around my father from this. I remember specifically, like I can remember one time my father was, I don't think I've ever shared this story before. My father was driving him and I to Boy Scouts, and we were going on it was like a weekend camping trip, right? And I remember my dad driving, and I was probably 4th, 5th grade. And I remember him pounding Budweisers. And when you're in 4th or 5th grade, even to this day, I still don't think anybody ever should drink and drive. But I remember being a little kid, and that's like the scariest thing in the world. I felt very unsafe in that moment because I was like, what I had been trained to at 4th and 5th grade is like, you will get in a car accident and you will die. And I'm sitting there and my dad literally is taking a 6-pack and he's getting a beer. He's putting it in the cup holder between the two of us. And he's drinking it as he's driving. And then he would finish it. He'd throw it behind us. He'd pick up another one. And so from there, it was like this feeling of like, I'm not safe, all of this that came from it. And I developed stories about how I wasn't safe in the rest of the world. And so you've got to start thinking about the stories that you're telling yourself. And so how do we start to resolve these things? Well, the first thing I think is really important is for us to talk to someone. Anybody. We can talk to ourselves if we want to. If you don't feel safe talking to someone, if you don't feel like you have somebody to talk to, you can talk to yourself. You can talk out loud. You can journal through it. You can start to think through it. I would recommend talking to somebody that you trust more than anybody else in the world and be like, hey, I've got this thing that I've just never really spoken about, and I just want to be able to speak to somebody. Is it okay if I do? And maybe you decide to go to therapy and you decide to go to a therapist and start to talk to them about it. What I have found from being somebody who never spoke about my father to any of my friends because I was so ashamed of him, and I was just ashamed when he would show up to my baseball games and be drunk and falling over. And I was so ashamed of all of that even when my father passed away, I never told anybody. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my teachers, any of that stuff. It was like he passed away and I went back to school like 5 days later. And so I want you to understand this. Shame breeds in the dark. And as you get better at talking about these things have less power over you. And so these things that we're afraid to talk about because we think that people will not love us or they will judge us are the things that are keeping us in place and keeping us stuck. And so I recommend the first thing is just try to talk to somebody. It can be a friend, it could be a therapist, it could be journaling, whatever it might be, whatever feels the most safe for you. If you feel like it's a very significant trauma, I do recommend that you talk to somebody who is qualified to talk you through it. Right? So that's the first thing. Talk to somebody. Shame breeds in the dark. Try to get it out into the light. The more that I realized that I started speaking about my father, the less that had control over me. And the more that I was able to kind of ease into it and not feel like I was stressed and holding on to it for 20 years. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. The second thing that I would recommend is to start to identify your story and tell yourself a new story. So stopping the story and telling yourself a new one, I think, is really important because we repeat these stories all day long. You know, in when you think about this, like for me, I'll give you an example as well. So I'll just keep using myself. I wasn't planning on using myself so much as an example, but I will. I didn't talk about my dad at all. I was not vulnerable. I wasn't open to emotions and feelings. And when I first started this podcast, like this podcast has completely changed my life for everything that I've done, but also for me, like just internally. I made a decision when I started this podcast, like I'm going to be an open book. I'll just tell people every single thing about me. I'll tell people my dad, I'll tell people about my traumas, I'll tell people about all of the things as it pops up, no shame on it. As I started doing that, because number one, what happened was the shame breeds in the dark, so I was bringing it to the light. Number two, I started to realize that I had felt in the past, like all of that trauma, all of the stuff that had happened with my dad, it was like I was holding on to it and not releasing it, and it was controlling me. And I had an old story that needed to be rewritten. Then as I started sharing this stuff, as I started talking about it, I started to actually take control of it and make it more of my story. So I was like, oh my God, I can now see that had all of that stuff with my father never happened, I wouldn't do what I do now. Like there's no part of me. I would have no reason to do what I do now. And so for me, what was like my biggest moments of shame and what I was trying to hide turned into like my strengths of this was, instead of being a victim, I was able to go, you know what? This was exactly what I needed to do what I'm supposed to do in this world. And I'm going to figure out a way to have these things make me more powerful versus hold me back, and start to repeat these things in my head, this new story versus like, oh, I'm a victim. Oh, my dad didn't love me. Oh, I'm not safe. And start to change it to, no. I was given this, like having that, my dad do all this stuff and go through things I went through as a child was my gift. It was given to me for me to learn, to grow, to improve, to get better at so that I can help change the world as well. And so you start to rewrite the story that you've been telling yourself, right? So tell yourself a new story, identify your story, and then tell yourself a new story. That's the second thing. Number three, the third thing that I recommend is to start getting better at accepting. Just acceptance of who you are, acceptance of what you've been through. And when you accept, you don't necessarily wish it would have been different, which is a very key piece to this. When you accept something, you don't wish it to be different. And so it's like, when you look at it, let's put it this way, when you don't accept something, there's a part of you that wants it to be different, which means that you're stuck in this cycle of something was wrong, something shouldn't have happened, versus like, this is exactly what was supposed to have happened for me to get to whatever the next thing is in my life, to improve, to get better, to have self-awareness. I don't believe that anything happens in this world that's not supposed to happen for some reason. I don't tend to know that reason, and I don't pretend to act like I'm smart enough to. But if I can accept it, I can move past it and not feel like I'm stuck in that moment in my life. And so the third thing is to accept. The fourth thing, really fucking hard, forgive. Okay, this one might take a lot more. This is, if you just want to go back and listen to my episodes on forgiveness, I go much, much deeper into it, why, all of that. I want you to try to see if you can start working on forgiveness of the other person, if there's another person involved, not for them, but for yourself, right? Forgive so that you can let go of that energetically, so you're not white knuckling your way through life. That's the first thing I'll say. And the second thing I'll say is forgiveness for yourself. There's a lot of people listening. I think most people that I've come in contact with need to get better at forgiving ourselves for things that we've done in the past, right? You have to understand, every person, including yourself, is always doing the best they can with everything that they have. That might seem like there's no way, but if anybody could do better, they would have done better. And so forgiveness that's a road that we can all go down. I recommend for that one, just go back and listen to an episode that I've done on forgiveness, where I can go into much more clarity where there's more time. Okay, so that's number 4. And number 5, which comes back to what I started talking about at the very beginning, right? Realize that you are not broken. You're not unwhole. There's not something stolen from you. There's not something missing. Your trauma builds you, and you can build a new identity for yourself from that trauma. But now what you can do as an adult listening to this right now, go, what do I want my new story to be from this? Which then turns you into the person that is the author of your story versus a victim of your story of something that happened in the past. And so what I'd recommend is that trauma, those things that you've been through, all of that stuff, can you build a new identity for yourself from all the things that have happened to you? If you can do that, you're going to start to live a very incredible, empowering life. So that's what I got for you. You're not broken. You're amazing. You're perfect as you are. We can always keep evolving, keep getting better, but you're a perfect person as you are, because guess what? All of us are screwed up in some sort of way. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. I'm sure there's people out there that follow you on those platforms that need to hear this, and we can try to help them in some sort of way. And also, at the same time, if you want to master your 2025 goals, go to goals2025.com to get my free ebook to help you master your goals. Once again, goals2025.com. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. It sounds kind of weird. Why would I sit down and put my thoughts on a piece of paper? I've already got my thoughts in my head. What am I going to do? Sit down and be like, dear diary, here's what I did today? Am I trying to just talk about what I did for the day? And for me, I did it wrong for years. Today, I'm going to be talking about what I feel might be one of the most important routines that you can pull into your life. It will help you for yourself. It will help you for your interaction with everyone that you know, your relationships with everyone that you know. It'll help you for your own personal development, spiritual development, physical development. It will help you be a better parent. It'll help you be a better person. So I'd say it's pretty damn important. Today, we're going to be talking about how to start journaling and how to create a journaling practice. And I understand that when you hear that you should start journaling, it sounds kind of weird. Why would I sit down and put my thoughts on a piece of paper? I've already got my thoughts in my head. What am I going to do? Sit down and be like, dear diary, here's what I did today? Am I trying to just talk about what I did for the day? And for me, I did it wrong for years. I used to think that it was like that, where I would sit down and just kind of put what happened at the end of the day, and here's what my day looked like. A journaling practice is not creating a diary where you put all of this is what happened today and this is how I felt and all of that. For me, I didn't see a whole lot of value in journaling because that's what I thought that it was. And then one day I was having a really hard day, and I started out with just writing a whole bunch of questions down. And I remember specifically exactly where I was. I was in Zilker Park in Austin. I had my journal with me. And I used to write down my goals and all of that stuff and say, here's the goals that I'm working towards. But I was having this really hard time, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't ever really feel satisfied with life. I felt like I always was running towards something or running away from something. And I was like, I feel like I've got more unanswered questions inside of me than actually answered questions. And so what I thought to myself is, I'm just every question that I have that's popping up into my head, I'm just going to put it down. And I wrote 10 or 15 questions down. And I was like, man, these are a lot of questions that I've just never really thought of before. And I thought, well, if I'm sitting here and I've got all these questions, I might as well try to find the answers. And so I went to each individual question and tried to find the answers to them and wrote down why do I always feel like I have to be running away from something? Why do I always feel like I have to be running towards something? And I left that, it was probably about an hour later, I left that park. And that day was completely changed the way that I journaled forever. And the reason why I recommend people journal is because we have a lot of stuff that's going on in our heads. And when it's in your head, it can be really, really hard to understand. And the reason why is because it's not like you have one thought. You can have a thought, and then that thought is connected to 20 other thoughts and 20 other different feelings and emotions and memories from your past that happen so quickly you don't even really notice them in the first place. And the stuff that's going on in your head can be really, really abstract. And they can be really hard to work through if you have extremely complex problems going on in your life. Like, think about how complex your life is, how many things you do on a daily basis, how many plates you keep spinning all day, every day. It's super complex. And so what makes it easier for us is to put it on paper to actually start working through it. When it's on paper, it can be planned and it can be worked through. And so I remember even with one time, one of my friends, real good friends, was going through a hard time in his relationship. And he came over to my house and I was like, well, why don't we just write it all down on pen and paper? And he's like, no, I don't need to. I've got it all figured out. It's all in my head. And I was like, cool, let's just do this. And for me, I didn't take out a journal. I took out a whiteboard and I was like, what's all the stuff going through your head? And we wrote each and everything down. And I was like, okay, we've got every single thing that's going on through your head. Do you feel like most of it is out now? And he's like, yeah, I feel like my brain feels at least more empty than it did when I walked in here. I was like, cool, let's just go through each individual topic. And I want you to just write down all of the questions that are coming up in your relationship. Oh, this is my question on this, my question on this, question on this. And then I wrote down all the questions for him as they were coming through. And then we literally just talked through each one of his questions. And at the end, his entire brain was on a piece of paper. And he's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm so clear on what I'm supposed to do. Because there's so many different things. When he was in his relationship, there's him, there's her, there's their children, there's their family and how they're relating to it. So there's so many complex problems in our life. To try to get through them in your head can be a really, really daunting task. Another reason why it works really well is because most people are visual. Researchers have found that about 65% of people out there are visual learners. And so when you can see something on paper, it really helps you actually start to comprehend what's going on and make connections in your brain that you never made before. And, like your life is so complex. If I gave you a math problem, like 254 times 439 or something like that, some of you might be able to figure it out in your head, like you really good math people. But a lot of you, if I said, hey, figure out this problem and I'll give you $1,000, 254 times 439, and I said, well, here's a pen and paper, you can use that. Would you still try to do it in your head? No, you'd try to do it on a piece of paper. You'd go to like old school multiplication, try to figure out with pen and paper. If you're trying to figure out a math problem with pen and paper, you definitely need to figure out life's problems with pen and paper. And for me, that's the reason why anytime I run an event, one of the things that we do the most is journaling practices and talking about the things that we're journaling about, is because your brain makes so many more new connections. It's the same thing as when you figure out stuff with your life and you figure out stuff with your feelings and you figure out stuff with your emotions. All of these are really complex, and journaling just helps you figure yourself out more. And so I just really want to sell you on the fact of journaling is not just some BS thing that a bunch of motivational speakers say from stage. It's actually something that really helps you process the complex things that are going on in your life. So let's talk about how to journal, okay? Here's what I recommend when you're trying to learn how to journal. The key here is to be as curious as possible. I want you to act like you don't know yourself. Act like you've never met yourself before, that you're a therapist who's just trying to help a client that knows, nothing about them. And you go into it, and instead of being judgmental, instead of throwing guilt or shame on top of yourself, more than anything else, you just go into the whole thing with curiosity. And here's what you're going to do. It's super, super simple. You're going to ask yourself a question about something that's coming up, and then you answer the question. So, if you wake up feeling happy, you just ask yourself, why do I feel so happy today? If you wake up and you don't feel happy, what can I do to make myself feel happier today? What would make today a great day? If you notice yourself feeling really anxious, a lot of times when people are anxious, it's almost like their computer is overloaded. Anxiety is it's hard to get yourself through it, but it's one of the best times to sit down with pen and paper. So if you're starting to feel the feelings inside of you of anxiety, just sit down with pen and paper and just say, I'm feeling really anxious. What is it that might be making me feel anxious? What am I thinking of that might be making me feel anxious? Am I worried about something? Am I scared? What's making me feel this way? And then one of my favorite questions is, what do I want? And so what I recommend for people is take 10 or 15 minutes every single morning when you have your cup of coffee and just start journaling through what's going on in your life. And you can journal through like, hey, what would make today a great day? Or if you feel really happy today, hey, why do I feel so happy? If you feel scared, anxious, why do I feel scared or anxious? Or if you just wake up and you feel kind of normal, you can just wake up and just write the question, what do I want? And you can make it as open and as vague as you want to. And then if you want to, you can actually get really clear if you'd prefer. So like, what do I want would be like today, it might be like, you know what? I want to spend some more time with my family today. Okay, what could I do to make that happen? Maybe if you want to get more direct, you could ask yourself like, what do I want in my life? What do I want in my business? What do I want in my love life? What do I want in my relationship with my children? What do I want in my bank account? What do I want in my business? And you can get more and more clear. And the key is ask yourself questions as if you don't know who you are. And then here's the secret to it. And this is where most people usually mess up. Most people usually kind of lily padding. And lily padding, like if you think of a lily pad, like a frog jumps from one lily pad to another. What you want to do is not lily pad. You want to go deeper. You want to dive deeper into it. So instead of going from like, what do I want in my life? And then lily padding to like, what do I want in my relationships? What you want to do is you want to ask yourself a question and then answer the question and then ask yourself another question about what you just answered. And the easy way to do this is to just start the next sentence with either who, what, why, when, where, or how. Who, what, why, when, where, or how. So let me give you a couple of examples just to kind of show you what it would look like to go through a journaling practice. So you have your level 1 question. Maybe you wake up in the morning, you got your coffee, and you're just like, damn, I kind of feel anxious this morning. I don't feel really good inside of my body. Okay, level 1 question, why do I feel anxious right now? And you might answer it, so then you're going to answer it. Level 1 answer, I think I'm worried about the presentation that I have to give at work. Okay, now I don't want to go to the next question. What I want to do is ask myself a question about that answer. So what you do is you have your level 1 question and then your level 1 answer. And then now you're going to go level 2 question and level 2 answer. So what can I do right now to lower my anxiety? Okay, level 2 answer. I can do a breathing exercise followed by reviewing my presentation and reading it out loud so that I feel like I've got enough practice, because I know that if I feel more prepared, I'll feel less anxious and I'll probably do better. And that helps right there, doesn't it? Now you don't feel that anxiety looming. You can start to work through it. And then what I recommend is go deeper and then go deeper and then go deeper. Try to go like 3 or 4 levels deep if you can. What's really crazy, and I remember one of my clients years ago, he was a great guy and his name was Luke. And he worked with me for about a couple of years. And after about 3 months, and I kept having him journal, he was like, hey, can I say something to you? Like, I feel like when I first started working with you, I thought I knew who I was, but now that I've been working with you for a while, I had no idea who I was. And journaling was one of the main things that actually changed my life around that. So he was resistant. And, this is a 40-year-old guy, extremely successful, had a family. He wasn't just like some person who never worked himself. He'd been working himself for years. And he's like, I feel like I didn't know myself. I didn't know my patterns. I wasn't aware of what I was thinking. I wasn't aware of what I was feeling. And so you want to go deeper and deeper and deeper if you can. So let me give you another example. Let's say that you want to work on your love life, right? And your level 1 question would be like, what do I want in my love life? Level 1 answer could be like, I want my spouse to respect me more. Okay, now don't go on to the next topic. Go deeper into that answer. So level 2 question, where do they respect me now? And where do I see them not respecting me the way that I want to be respected? Level 2 answer could be something like, he respects me around other people, but I feel like he doesn't respect me when I talk about growing my new business. I don't really feel supported by him. Okay, well, so that's level 2 question, level 2 answer. Level 3 question, let's go deeper into what we just went into. What can I do to have him respect me more in my business? And more than anything else, how can I feel that he supports me in my dreams and my aspirations in the business? That's level 3 question. Okay, level 3 answer. the best thing for me to do is to have a conversation with him about how I feel. And then I'm noticing that I don't really feel respected or supported, and I would like his respect from him. Okay, level 4 question. What would that look like so I can give him exactly what it would look like? Now you've got it. You see how this is very much like a psychoanalyzing session. When you go to a psychoanalyst, they're trained to ask questions and give as few statements as possible. You can do this every day for free. Now, I'm not saying don't go to therapy. I think most people should go to therapy at some point in time in their life, but you can kind of work on your own self and you start to become more self-aware as you do this. And so you could sit down and you could ask yourself some amazing questions. What are the fears that are holding me back from living the life that I want? What are the habits that are holding me back from the life that I want? What are my limiting beliefs that are holding me back from the life that I want? What is my identity of the way that I view myself? And you start going through and going deeper and you really start to understand yourself more. And this works really well if you just put all of your thoughts, when you notice your body shifting, you put all of your thoughts on a piece of paper. Question, answer, question, answer. And now I know it's already happening because I've talked about journaling for 10 years at this point, I think. Everybody says, well, what if somebody finds it? What if my spouse finds it? What if my children find it? Hide it. Hide it if you want to. Or, you could do what my wife and I do. I know right now, my journal is on the kitchen table. And the reason why is because I saw it right before I started recording this, right? I saw it on there. I know that my wife will not pick it up and read it. And the reason why is because we've made it, and this is just the way that we are in our relationship. I see hers laying around, I don't pick it up and read it. She sees mine laying around, she doesn't pick it up and read it. Or at least she tells me she doesn't. But even if she did, who cares, right? She could read it if she wants to. But we have this mutual agreement. I won't read hers, she won't read mine. So therefore, we can be as honest as possible on that pen and paper. And if you really want to, if you're really worried because you're putting some stuff down about like, oh my God, I want to get out of this relationship. How do I get out of this relationship? You can put all of your thoughts down on pen and paper and then rip up every single journal entry if it makes you feel better. But if you're not able to be honest with yourself in pen and paper, you're not honest with the world. If that is the most honest that you can be, is if you write it with pen and paper and then rip it up or burn it whenever you get done. Just don't not go deep with yourself. That's the thing that I really want to get across to everybody on here. This is the moment where you can really start to put your deep thoughts, your deep feelings onto a piece of paper and to think like, well, I'm not going to go as deep because I'm afraid that my husband's going to find it, or I'm not going to go as deep because I'm afraid that my mom's going to find it. Then please, as soon as you get done with going really deep with yourself and you come up with a plan, rip it out, burn it, throw it away, rip it up, whatever's you need to do, but put your heart and soul on that piece of paper. And you'll really start to become way more self-aware. And so a lot of people then go, well, how often should I journal? I recommend that you journal, like if this really sounds like something that you want to try, every morning for 10 or 15 minutes for the next week, and just see what happens. And just ask yourself, 2 to 3 questions for the day. 2 to 3 questions. It could be anything. Hey, what can I do today to feel like I have as much energy as possible? You can go through that. Hey, I'm feeling kind of sad today and I don't know why. What do I think might be going on there? And then you actually just start to figure out more about yourself. And I promise you this, I hear it over and over and over again. I thought I know myself until I started doing journaling sessions. And then I recommend that you end every single one of your journaling sessions in the morning with one question. One simple question, one fun question. And the question is, what can I do to make today amazing? And what you do is you actually ask yourself, what can I do to make today an amazing day? And then whatever's on that piece of paper, do your best to get it done. Maybe it's like, you know what? I really want to bake a cake. I haven't baked a cake in a while. It sounds kind of weird. Why would I sit down and put my thoughts on a piece of paper? I've already got my thoughts in my head. What am I going to do? Sit down and be like, dear diary, here's what I did today. Am I trying to just talk about what I did for the day? And for me, I did it wrong for years. Today, I'm going to be talking about what I feel might be one of the most important routines that you can pull into your life. It will help you for yourself. It will help you for your interaction with everyone that you know, your relationships with everyone that you know. It'll help you for your own personal development, spiritual development, physical development. It will help you be a better parent. It'll help you be a better person. So I'd say it's pretty damn important. Today, we're going to be talking about how to start journaling and how to create a journaling practice. And I understand that when you hear that you should start journaling, it sounds kind of weird. Why would I sit down and put my thoughts on a piece of paper? I've already got my thoughts in my head. What am I going to do? Sit down and be like, dear diary, here's what I did today. Am I trying to just talk about what I did for the day? And for me, I did it wrong for years. I used to think that it was like that, where I would sit down and just kind of put what happened at the end of the day, and here's what my day looked like. A journaling practice is not creating a diary where you put all of this is what happened today, and